Objectivity. Is it realistic? Is it something we should look for? That's a question I'm going to pose for you guys today. So one of the things that happens in academic history that you might not know about outside of the field, because it doesn't really make it into the university classrooms, is the history of history, in a sense. Through most of the 20th century, historians have been obsessed with looking for objectivity. The long story of history is the field trying to become a science and failing over and over again. So for most of the historical profession's history, we've been looking for ways to study the past objectively, to have a completely neutral concept of the past, one that nobody could possibly object to. The problem, though, that really became settled in the 1970s in a real way was that we realized there's really no escaping your perspective. We're always going to see the past through the lens of somebody in our moment, which means that the history of, the Civil War was different 20 years ago and will be different 20 years from now. And really, one of the gifts that postmodernism gave to the historical discipline was just learning to accept this, to know that we're never going to fully write a completely objective interpretation of the past, but we're just going to be able to write the best interpretation of the past that we can make today. And know that no matter how well we do, it's likely to get upturned by another historian down the path. And it also positions the historical profession to know that we are, in many ways, crafting the narrative that we're creating. If we were to write a history book or something like that with no narrative, the entire process of selecting what data goes in and out and what sources we look at would result in every history book being impossibly huge. And so by selecting, by writing, by putting into words, we are writing a interpretation of the past, but we can never create the actual past through our representation. It's just never going to get there. And this is okay. So one of the interesting things that comes out of this is the author Hayden White, who is a philosopher of history. And one of the things that he does that's really interesting, and this is what I think that many of you would find really cool, is that if we can accept that we are not objectively interpreting the past, that we are selecting data, that we are creating argument, then we can study historical writing like any bit of writing. There's a large body of work on studying writing. And so one of the things that really made Hayden White famous was that he wrote about historians in the past through things that you would normally see in literary criticism. He broke down authors and broke down positions into liberal, conservative, radical, and anarchist schools. He broke down different types of writing into genre, whether or not you portray the past as tragedy or comedy, and really shook up the historical field by realizing that by crafting narrative, we are then opening ourselves up to being able to critique the work of historians using the study of narrative. It's a really cool thing. It also makes you sit and wonder, what is it exactly that we're doing? That's all I have for today. If you liked this video, please subscribe down below. Check out Step Back History, my main channel. And of course, subscribe to Historian IRL. That's me, Tristan, a historian, IRL.